How did you first get involved? How did you know about it? What brought you?
Yeah, I guess so. My first WLPC would have been 2016.
Okay.
I wasn't at the first few.
Okay.
But my first WLPC was back when I was at Cisco, and our team thought it would be good to get involved with the community, and it has been really good. And
were you saying, "Hey, I want to go," or did someone say, "Hey, you should go to this event"? Like, was it on your radar personally?
It was on my it was on my radar, and then it was also it would be good to go.
Yeah, we need to be there.
Yeah.
And then had you known some of the guys and players like Keith or some of the people who had been attending? Were you engaging in other areas with some of the community?
Yes. So I knew some folks from Wireless Field Day, and then Mobility Field Day, but it wasn't until I would say WLPC and attending now several times where
you get to know everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's your journey to Wi-Fi? Where did you come from? When did that first become interest and then professional for you?
Yeah. So I started my career in Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And kind of just come up in Wi-Fi. It's what I know, and expand a little bit, but Wi-Fi is where I'm comfortable, where I'm happy. And it's been great. So,
nice. So for those who don't know you, what do you do now? Where are you at?
So now I'm at Juniper Networks, Director of Product Management. I look after our wireless portfolio. It's just an exciting times.
Yeah, lots of things going on. Yeah. So you gave a talk, was it this morning?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your presentation and kind of why you chose, I guess the people chose it. But,
yeah, that's right.
Why do you think the people chose that, and what were some of the highlights?
So every WLPC I attend, I try to pick something that I'm interested in, and
hopefully the overflow.
Hopefully that means people are also interested in it, and this time around
seemed to be the case.
People are interested. So my talk this time was on roaming, Wi-Fi roaming, and some of the new challenges or considerations, with the introduction of 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi, where we've kind of moved from clients just kind of making their own decisions and, I'm going to go off channel and see what's around, to the infrastructure being able to not necessarily influence, but to allow the client to more efficiently discover nearby APs using something like a reduced neighbor report. And so I just talked about roaming and how it's kind of evolved over the years. And
so what are some of the big takeaways you think that you are hoping people would walk away from? Because it was a 55-minute talk, correct? So you spent some time going deep.
I did.
What are the challenges? What are the things, what's the reality check and all of this stuff?
Yeah. So what I was hoping people take away is there's more to roaming and clients discovering access points than just simply a signal strength threshold that many people may be familiar with. Mm-hmm. And so yes, that clients make a decision to look for their next candidate AP when they have a neg 67 signal strength or something like that. But which AP they pick and how they go about picking it, there's some new things that have changed over the past few years. And now with 6 gigahertz, we have so many more channels. Mm-hmm. There's now a lot of out-of-band discovery mechanisms, they're called. And so a client can discover its nearby APs without having to go off channel and figure out what's around. And so it just makes for a better overall user experience. Now they'll probably still go off channel to figure out, hey, is that AP actually there? But it's a smaller subset of channels. And that was kind of the point of the talk.
So pulling into the vendor hat a little bit and your role, how is this kind of interplaying? What exciting things are kind of in front of you the next, I guess, year or so as some of this stuff takes shape?
The big thing for us, and I think the industry, is 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And Wi-Fi 7 on the horizon. And so I think this is the reason I chose this topic was, one, is interesting to me, but also it's directly related to things that I think many of our customers and many people at the conference would be going through as they're thinking about and going and deploying maybe their first 6 gigahertz network.
Yeah.
And then over the next year or so, we'll look at Wi-Fi 7.
Yeah.
And kind of go from there.
Wi-Fi engineers, those guys kind of on the front line, maybe that are making decisions on where to go deeper with their knowledge. What's some advice you might give as far as in this realm and things to really focus in, or maybe you're seeing as you're talking to new employees or just your own team, or as you're having discussions or watching other talks? What are some of those gaps you think that might be worth filling a little bit more intensely, or that might be worth doing that?
I think the Wi-Fi community has a really strong foundation of the basics of Wi-Fi, right? Okay. So like know how 11 works and association, authentication,
yes.
Maybe some roaming aspects, but there have been new features introduced, generation over generation in Wi-Fi, and some of them get used, some of them don't.
Yeah, don't make it.
Yeah, and some of them take a while to implement.
Mm-hmm.
So, just kind of going back to my talk, one area is some of these out-of-band discovery mechanisms like 802.11k, which has been around for a long time and has decent use, but with the introduction of 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi, it becomes a lot more relevant.
Mm-hmm.
And the reduced neighbor report, and there's a couple of other pieces. So I think kind of the new pieces in 6 gigahertz, especially that that help that technology, I think is a gap.
Yeah.
That only time and people will
going deep.
Yeah, especially as people deploy.
Yeah. On the product side, what kind of decision factors are you making in what you choose to develop, not develop, implement? What's included, what's not included?
It's so from a standards perspective,
mm-hmm.
what gets into the product, it's kind of a balance between what we think clients are going to do
mm-hmm.
and what we think will make sense, like what will help. And then with a little bit of input from the Wi-Fi Alliance, which kind of takes the specification from the IEEE
mm-hmm.
and builds an interop test plan, interop certification. And so, at a minimum, we know we need to comply with the Wi-Fi Alliance specification. And then there may be other things beyond that, which which clients are implementing or we think would be useful.
Yeah.
And so we kind of look at all those to decide what.
And there seems to be a balance, just even from my perspective of hearing the conversations and seeing the different players involved, like the speed of when the next thing's available. I mean, that's got to be an intense pressure.
Yeah,
I imagine, and then.
Well, so right now it's a relevant question because or comment because if you look over the past 3 or 4 generations of Wi-Fi, there's been a pretty even 3 years between generations. Yeah. Wi-Fi 6 came out in 2019. Wi-Fi 6E came out in 2022.
Okay.
Wi-Fi 7 is like this year, next year. Like, so we're in like a half product cycle.
Yeah.
Which it's a weird thing. It puts stress on us, and I think it puts stress on customers.
Yeah.
It's like,
do I buy now? Yeah. Do I implement and do that? So I guess just a lot of conversations, you guys are in the middle of balancing all sorts of things, I imagine. So how do you manage that as a team? When you're working with your team, what does that look like? What are those conversations? What's the mindset that is?
So we take a very customer first approach. Where we try to do things that are relevant for the customer.
Is that a lot of listening or just what you guys have observed? I mean, you get a lot of listening whether you want it or not, I imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot of working directly with our customers and partners
mm-hmm.
To figure out, what's important, and especially while somebody is deploying our product, how then can we make that better?
Yeah.
How can we make that experience better, whatever it may be? And so, when we think about the customer mindset, or what's important to customers, to me, 6 gigahertz is that's tangible.
That thing, yeah.
That is useful. It will make a serious impact, and it has made a serious impact in customer environments, especially where they're out of 5 gigahertz capacity, and so we've made an effort to focus on Wi-Fi 6E, make sure that's complete and available, and then move on to Wi-Fi 7.
So in your role, what's one of the things that really you love about your job?
What I love is the variety. I get to work with some of the largest customers, some of the most interesting environments, and make Wi-Fi work.
Because that could be very stressful, very intense environment. You sound like you are a problem solver by nature, maybe.
Yeah.
Have you always kind of been that way? How have you grown in that role through the years? Has that been a difficult thing, or did that come naturally with just, obviously you said at WBC you had a job, things have changed and progressed as you made more connections. Was that problem solving intensified at each different level? Does it change?
It changes just in terms of the, for us, it's all about the customers.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, we build and tailor the product for, to solve our customer problems. And so as we learn more and more, over time, kind of what I feel is I can think about something a certain way. But until I've seen, or somebody's seen firsthand, how things are being used, to me that's to me that's how I solve problems. Yeah. And so that's kind of how
you're getting in the other person's shoes, and they're what the actual deployment looks like.
Yeah.
And the problems they're going to run into, which probably is the best way to see. You can talk about it, you can theorize about it, even lab test it, but you got to be out in that environment.
And you you can read about how you or talk to somebody about how this is what the environment looks like. Yeah. You see it firsthand. Okay, if Wi-Fi goes down in this environment, this manufacturing facility shuts down. Yeah. That's okay. It kind of, where you're in a hospital, these infusion pumps rely upon Wi-Fi. There's, until you see it, I don't know, at least for me, I understand it a little bit differently, and it helps. It really helps for me at least solve problems.
Fascinating. Without giving details, obviously, is there a certain environment or type of environment that that you were really proud of, or that you think is very cool, that maybe just is on the top of your list of things that you've seen your deployments go into?
Let's see. So there's a couple that come to mind. So one is a large tech conference, which is Juniper network through and through, Wi-Fi, wired, and the WAN firewall stuff. Yeah. But we've now put that on over a couple of years, and just that one is immensely satisfying. After the week when things worked really well. This was great.
That's great.
And then another one is I mentioned the manufacturing facility, and so this particular customer, they 100% rely upon Wi-Fi. Yeah. And they have autonomous robots, which carry finished goods and raw materials from one place to another, and those operate over Wi-Fi. Yeah. And so they actually had an interesting problem, which was the robots were stopping. And so they had
that's probably not good.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, not good. And a lot of times require a manual intervention. And so it turns out a couple of things were happening. A lot of the APs went onto similar channels. Okay, we saw that. Okay, there's an interference source, and the interference source was making the channel unusable. And so we went outside to look at it, and the problem actually traced back to they had installed their facilities team, without the network team's knowledge, installed like safety lights. So it's like a projector light that shines like a stop sign on the floor. And why would you think that would cause any sort of problem? But it turns out that to save power, that light has a radar, and that radar operates in Uni 3 Wi-Fi band.
Yeah. So it was behaving like a radar.
Yeah. And so anytime somebody would walk up or drive up, that light would turn on and basically wipe out Uni 3 in that area.
That's insane. So who traced that back?
Well, when we got on site, we were able to see the spectrum capture. Oh yeah, there's, we're walking around like, I see a spike here. Where's that coming? Hold it up. Oh yeah, so it got stronger.
So was that a new safety light they had to come up with? A new solution, I imagine.
They were able to turn off the radar and keep the lights on.
Well, Wes, this is totally fascinating and super cool. People obviously can check out the video of your talk. If you were to give this talk again, let's say Phoenix, which is right around the corner already.
Yeah, I'm still figuring out what I want to talk.
Would that be much of a different talk, you think? Is there going to be changes between now and then?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Okay, so over the past, I guess I didn't attend the Prague last year.
Okay.
The past 3 that I've been to, so Phoenix, Prague.
Yeah.
I've talked about Wi-Fi 6E, and the amount that we've learned over that time period, right? Every talk I've given, has been different.
Yeah. Because of what you keep learning.
Yeah. Yeah. As we're deploying, right? We're, as an industry, we're learning.
Yeah.
So anybody that pretends they have all the answers is lying. So very likely in 6 more months, yes, we will have learned a whole bunch more.
Yeah. So it's always going to be fresh, and it's always going to be intriguing. Well, Wes, I totally appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.